Hi guys, welcome back TV Spoilers. The drama continues to explode on Y&R. Will Sienna lose her life when Matt returns to carry out his next revenge plan? Noah could also endanger Matt if he harms or kills Sienna, so Matt will certainly be in danger. Matt Clark seeks revenge on Victor. Sienna or Noah become the scapegoat. Victor Newman has been preparing revenge on Matt Clark in the past. Now Matt returns to retaliate against Victor. However, instead of directly attacking Victor, Matt targets those Victor cares about. With Sienna's connection to Adam and Noah, Matt sees attacking them as the best way to hurt the Newman family. Sienna or Noah could be kidnapped or have their lives threatened, becoming the scapegoat in the personal battle between Matt and Victor. Matt's return isn't a random, shocking appearance to disappear. It smelled of a long-planned scheme, honed by hatred and cold patience, a return that put Genoa City on high alert because it wasn't aimed at a single target, but at the security of an entire family. If Victor had once seen Matt as a mistake that could be dealt with by power and preemptive strikes, Matt now saw Victor as a symbol to be broken in the most humiliating way, not by punching him directly, but by making those he cared about the price to pay. And in that whirlwind, Sienna emerged as a dangerous crossroads, not because she was weak, but because she stood precisely where the Newman family's emotional lines intersected. She had a connection to Adam and Noah, and that made her a bridge. And in war, bridges are always the first thing to be destroyed to cut off relief efforts. The most terrifying aspect of Matt's revenge is his calculation. He understands perfectly where Victor is strong and where he is weak. Victor is strong in power, in his network, in his ability to quell crisis with money and influence. But Victor is weak in the things he always hides behind a cold facade, the priceless emotional bonds, the tangled family ties that would still draw him into the fire if necessary. Matt doesn't need to win a duel with Victor. He only needs to make Victor see an outcome that Victor himself cannot control, cannot arrange, cannot close the case with a phone call. Therefore, instead of attacking Victor directly, Matt chooses to pull Victor out of his position as the controller, turning him into a father, a grandfather, a man forced to react instinctively in panic and helplessness. It is here that Sienna becomes the prey with a cruel logic. For someone like Matt, choosing targets wasn't about how important they were on paper, but about their potential to trigger a chain reaction. Sienna might not hold power at Newman, nor did she own shares or make decisions on the boardroom, but she was tied to the family's most sensitive points. Adam, caught between a yearning for recognition and a burning desire for exclusion. Noah, close enough to be affected, yet far enough to believe he could live outside Victor's conflicts. Matt understood that if he touched Sienna, he would force Adam and Noah back into the same background, and when they did, Victor would inevitably reappear. Matt didn't need to knock on Victor's door. He just needed to trigger an alarm in Victor's heart. However, by choosing Sienna as his path, Matt also pushed himself into another risk zone: Noah. Because Noah wasn't the type to stand idly by while someone was being harmed. It's not because Noah is a hero in the classical sense, but because Noah possesses something that Victor and Adam sometimes lose: an instinctive sense of morality, a sense of right and wrong unwavering by strategy or power. If Matt harms or kills Sienna, Noah wouldn't just be an indirect victim. He could become a direct threat to Matt. Noah's danger lies in human impulsiveness. Cornered, Noah can act on emotion, and such actions often derail even the most calculating minds. The more Matt uses Sienna as a scapegoat, the more he puts Noah in a nothing-to-lose state, and this is precisely the kind of person most dangerous to someone who thinks they have the upper hand. All of this leads to the lingering question: will Sienna lose her life? In the tragic structure of this revenge plot, the risk is real, not because she's destined to die, but because death would be the quickest way for Matt to mark Victor. However, Noah's very existence is a variable that makes the game dangerous for Matt. If Matt goes too far, if he turns Sienna into a corpse, He will not only trigger Victor's rage, but also Noah's instinctive reaction, which could shatter all calculations. Matt wants to control the story, but once blood is spilled, the story will no longer be his. What haunted me most wasn't who will be kidnapped or who will die, but the feeling that someone like Sienna could be crushed simply because she stood near such big names. Genoa City always has a kind of violence without guns. The violence of forced choices, the violence of being turned into a tool. Rereading the script at the pace of Y&R, I found a very authentic sadness in the film. People keep repeating the cycle of hatred, and each cycle drags another person into danger, often someone without ambition for power, only with feelings. And perhaps what bothered me most in a very personal way was the feeling of powerlessness, knowing that in that world, sometimes loving someone is enough to become a reason for punishment. I didn't want Sienna to become a scapegoat. I didn't want Noah to be made the one paying the price for his kindness. But it's precisely my not wanting that makes the story tense and worth watching. Because Y&R is always good at making us hope for kindness, then forcing us to confront its price.